The night she vanished, the stars went out, not literally, but for him, they might as well have. He stood in the driveway, phone in hand, fingers trembling, text messages unanswered since 8:47 p.m. No calls, no warnings, just silence where her laughter used to be, and a single jacket left behind on the porch swing. It wasn't supposed to end like this. They had plans, a beach house in Oregon. 2 golden retrievers, maybe kids one day. Now only questions filled the empty rooms. Where did she go? Did she leave on purpose? Or was she taken? And why that jacket? Why leave it there, like a message, like a clue, or a final goodbye? This is not just another missing person story. This case changed how we think about disappearances. Because she wasn't running from danger. She was running towards something. Something hidden in plain sight. Something buried beneath routines and smiles. We all assume we know the people closest to us. But what if we're wrong? What if the life you shared was a performance? She was kind, always holding doors open, bringing soup to sick neighbors, volunteering at the animal shelter every Saturday. Her coworkers called her the heart of the office. Quiet, reliable, never late. She paid her bills on time, loved horror movies, collected vintage teacups. On paper, her life looked perfect. Stable job, happy marriage. A tidy home with lavender bushes by the walkway. But behind closed doors, even he didn't know. Not really. He thought he did. But hindsight is cruel that way. It sharpens the edges of every missed sign, every quiet moment, every excuse she made. I'm just tired, she'd say, or work's been stressful. But stress doesn't explain the burner phone. Found later, tucked inside a shoebox in the attic. Password protected, with numbers matching her mother's birthday, a number even he didn't know. That phone had dozens of texts, all to the same unknown number, sent late at night, most just 2 words. Still here, or not yet. Never replies saved, just her side of a one-way conversation. Waiting, hoping, planning. He found it 3 weeks after she disappeared. 3 weeks of police reports, flyers posted on telephone poles, news segments with grainy surveillance stills, and then this phone, buried under old winter boots like she wanted it found. Eventually, but not too soon, the detective assigned to the case noticed something odd. Her bank account, clean. No large withdrawals, no suspicious transfers, but her library app. She checked out 3 books the week before vanishing, all nonfiction, one on wilderness survival, another on identity theft, the third, a memoir by a woman who faked her death to escape an abusive marriage. The detective read the marginalia. Tiny pencil marks, underlined sentences, one phrase circled twice. You don't owe your life to someone else's love. He showed it to the husband. The man stared at it, then looked away, said nothing. His hand shook again. Not from grief, from guilt, maybe, or fear, or both, because now the question shifted. Was she a victim, or was she free? Let's go back, before the jacket, before the silence, back to when things started to bend. Her name was Claire. Claire Elizabeth Morrow, born in Boise, Idaho, second child. Father was a mechanic. Mother stayed home until Claire turned 10. Then she got a job at a diner, worked double shifts, always smelled like coffee and bacon grease. Claire learned early how to be quiet, how to fold laundry without noise, how to make dinner while avoiding eye contact. Home wasn't unsafe, but it wasn't warm. Love was earned through obedience, affection doled out like rations. She grew up believing peace came at a price, and she was willing to pay it. In high school, she was invisible, not bullied, not popular, just there, sat near windows, listened more than she spoke, wrote poems and notebooks she never showed anyone. One line survived. Sometimes I feel like a guest in my own skin. She met Daniel in college, freshman year psychology class. He sat beside her, smiled too wide, talked too much, but he remembered her name the next day. That surprised her. He asked if she wanted coffee. She said yes, not because she liked him, but because no one ever asked. Their relationship moved fast. Dates, weekend trips, meeting parents. By spring, he proposed, on a hilltop, sunset, ring in a crumpled napkin. She said yes, again, not because she loved him, but because she was supposed to, because everyone expected it, because saying no felt like failure. They married at 24. Reception in a garden, white roses, string quartet. Photos show her smiling, but her eyes, they don't reach her eyes. Daniel worked in finance. good salary, stable. He liked routine, dinner at 6, news at 7, bed by 10. Claire adapted, cooked his favorite meals, learned to enjoy golf on TV, hosted holiday parties, bought matching towels. For years it worked, or seemed to. But small cracks formed. She started walking every evening, rain or shine. Left right after dinner, no coat in winter, just walked. 5 miles, sometimes more. Neighbors saw her. Head down, eyes forward, like fleeing something, or chasing nothing. Daniel asked once. She said she needed air. He let it go. He didn't want to know, deep down, because knowing means responsibility, means change, means admitting something's broken, and he liked things as they were. Then came the dreams. She told her therapist. Yes, she had a therapist, secretly, for 2 years, paid in cash, office across town, diary locked in a desk drawer. The dreams were always the same. She's standing in a train station, ticket in hand, destination unknown. People rush past, but no one sees her. A clock ticks, no hands. Then the train arrives. Door opens. She steps inside. No, the train arrives, and wakes up crying. Therapist asked why she didn't get on the train. She said she was afraid of where it would go, of who she'd become. Therapist said maybe that was the point. Change isn't safe, but staying can be deadly. Claire stopped going to therapy 6 months before she vanished. No explanation, just didn't book the next appointment. Therapist kept the notes, later gave them to police. One line stood out. She feels like she's disappearing already. The inciting incident happened on a Tuesday. Ordinary, grocery store. She dropped a jar of olives. Glass shattered, oil pooled on tile. Store clerk rushed over, said it was okay, offered a mop. She froze, just stood there, staring at the mess, then burst into tears. Not soft sobs, full collapse, knees hit floor. People stared. Clerk called Daniel. He arrived 20 minutes later. Found her sitting in the parking lot, on the curb, hands in lap, face blank. He drove her home, put her to bed. Next morning she acted fine, made pancakes, joked about the olives. But that night, she sat at the kitchen table for 3 hours, didn't move, didn't speak. Daniel pretended to read, peeked over his book. Saw her staring at her hands, like they belonged to someone else. The next week, she started the library books, also began deleting photos from their cloud storage, hundreds of them, birthdays, vacations, anniversaries, gone, he noticed. Asked about it, she said her phone was glitching. He didn't press, didn't want the truth. Then came the email, from a travel agency. Daniel found it in her spam folder. Subject, your reservation is confirmed. Destination, Haines, Alaska, remote. Population under 2,000, near Glacier Bay. No direct flights, required ferry or bush plane. Check-in date, 1 week from today. Name on reservation, Naomi Clark. Not Claire, not Morrow. Naomi Clark, a name he'd never heard. He confronted her. That night, after dinner, showed her the email. She didn't flinch, just looked at him, and said, I need to go. Why? He asked. To find out who I am. You're Claire, he said. My name is Claire. That's what I was given, she replied. Not what I chose. He begged, pleaded, promised change, therapy, vacation, anything. She listened, nodded, then went to bed. Next morning, she made coffee, left a note. Don't look for me. Took only her passport and $300 in cash from the emergency jar, left the wedding ring on the sink and the jacket on the porch. The investigation began quickly. Police pulled traffic cams, gas station footage. Nothing. She avoided main roads, used side streets. A neighbor saw her bike, riding east, toward the river trail. After that, gone. No ID checks, no credit card use, no digital footprint. It was as if she ceased to exist. But then, 2 months later, a postcard arrived at Daniel's door. No return address. Postmarked Juneau, Alaska. Image, a snowy mountain peak. Text, the air tastes different here, cleaner. I'm learning to breathe. Signed N. No last name, no location, just those few words. Daniel cried. Not from sadness, from relief. She was alive. Oh, Hugh. Maybe. Or just free. The detective reopened the file, contacted Alaska PD, posted flyers in remote towns. No leads, no sightings. Claire Naomi had vanished completely, but stories started emerging. Months later, from strangers online, a Reddit thread. Title, Ever meet someone who changed your life in 5 minutes? User, Northern Light 92, wrote, Last winter I was stuck on a ferry in Skagway. Engine trouble. Stranded for 8 hours. Cold. people grumpy. Then she appeared, carried a thermos, handed out hot cocoa, no expectation, just kindness. We talked. She said she came here to disappear, not from criminals, from herself. Said names are cages. She picked a new one. Naomi means pleasant in Hebrew. She laughed. Said she wasn't sure she was pleasant, but she's trying. Left before the ferry restarted. Didn't give a last name, but her eyes, they finally reached her smile. Another comment. Same thread. User, Trailblazer Alaska. Saw her at a campsite near Denali. Late fall. She was teaching an older woman how to start a fire. Without matches. Just flint and dry moss. Woman was crying. Said she felt helpless. Naomi said, "You're not weak. You just unpracticed, stayed with her all night, left at dawn, left food, and a hand-knitted scarf, never gave her real name, but I'll never forget her." More posts followed, across forums, Facebook groups, travel blogs, a sighting in Fairbanks, working at a dog sledding kennel, another in Sitka, helping rebuild a community center, always helping, always leaving, no trace, no permanence, just impact. Then silence, no new sightings, no posts, as if she faded further. Beyond stories, into myth, Daniel read every word, printed some, taped them to the wall, beside wedding photos. Contrast was painful. There she was, alive, kind, free, while he remained, in the house, with the lavender bushes. And the empty bed. He tried moving, couldn't, sold most furniture, kept only the porch swing. And her favorite mug. Chipped, blue, with a tiny star on the handle. He drinks tea from it now, every morning, stares at the spot where her jacket lay, asks himself the same question, did I fail her, or was I part of the cage? Therapists say both. He went to counseling, after a breakdown, 6 months post-disappearance. Doctor said he grieved a wife who never existed, the Claire he loved, a version, a role. She played it well, out of duty, fear, hope, but not love. Not for the life, maybe for him, at first, but even that eroded, under the weight of expectation, of silence, of pretending. Daniel had to accept it. She didn't leave him. She left a prison, one built slowly, brick, by society, family, tradition, by the idea that marriage equals forever, regardless of cost, regardless of self. He applied for divorce. After 1 year, legal necessity, filed paperwork, included the postcard, court accepted it, case closed. Legally, she was gone, but emotionally, she was everywhere. Then, one winter, snowing hard. He opened the mailbox, no bills, no ads, just a small package, no return label. Inside, a jar filled with Alaskan wildflowers, pressed, preserved in resin. Beautiful, and a note. Handwritten, thank you for loving me, even when I couldn't. I hope you find peace, and maybe joy, with someone who can stay. Love, C, not Naomi, C, her initial, a bridge, a farewell. He held the jar, felt warmth spread. Despite the cold, tears fell, not bitter, not angry, grateful. She forgave him for not seeing her, for not asking, for letting her fade. And in that moment, he forgave himself. Not for loving her, but for thinking love should chain someone. He placed the jar on the mantel, next to the blue mug, walked outside, took the jacket from the swing, folded it gently, placed it in a trunk, not thrown away, remembered, but not clung to. Next morning, he took a train. First time in years, no destination, just movement, window seat. Watched trees blur, thought of her, on her own train, years ago. Now he understood. The ticket wasn't for escape, it was for rebirth. Some people don't die to begin again. They disappear, they shed names, habits, histories. They walk into forests, mountains, snow, and relearn themselves, letter by letter, breath by breath. Claire didn't vanish, she arrived, as Naomi, flawed, uncertain, but real, while. And though we may never know where she is, we know what she taught. That silence isn't peace. That presence isn't connection, and that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is stop being who they're expected to be and start becoming who they are, even if it breaks hearts, even if it leaves scars, especially then, because authenticity is its own kind of heroism. We measure lives by length, but meaning, Meaning comes from depth, from risk, from choosing yourself. When the world demands otherwise, Claire's story isn't rare. It's repeated in suburbs, cities, towns, women, men, non-binary souls trapped in roles, marriages, jobs, identities that no longer fit. They smile, nod, pay rent, but inside, they're packing bags, writing notes, choosing new names, jobbing none. Not because they hate their lives, but because they love themselves enough to imagine another and take the step into the unknown. We judge disappearances. We call them selfish, abandonment, betrayal. But what if we're wrong? What if leaving is an act of courage? What if vanishing is the only way to be seen, not by others, but by oneself? Daniel still thinks of her. Every snowfall, every spring bloom. He doesn't wait. He doesn't search. He honors her choice. By making his own, he volunteers now at a shelter, listens to stories, holds space, doesn't offer advice, just presence. And when someone says, "I don't know who I am anymore," he smiles softly and says, "Maybe that's a good start." We all wear masks, some heavier than others, some glued on by love, some glued on by love, some by fear. But beneath them, a person waits, to breathe, to speak, to exist without apology. Claire's journey reminds us, no one owes their life to another's comfort. Freedom isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. A jacket on a swing, a postcard in the mail, a name changed, a path chosen alone. And though we may never know if she's happy, we know she's free. And that matters more than closure, more than answers. Because freedom is the deepest form of healing. So if you're listening and you feel that pull, that quiet voice saying, "This isn't me," know you're not broken. You're awakening. It won't be easy. People will hurt. Plans will shift. Identity will blur. But you'll be real. And real is worth every risk. Her story isn't over. It's just private now, as it should be. And ours, I exased. Ours continues. With choices, with courage, with love that doesn't demand ownership. If this story moved you, if it made you reflect, please consider subscribing and liking. Your support helps voices like hers be heard.